My fellow Americans! Evening, afternoon, folks. This is Joe Bazooka. As we settle into our golden years, you have to ask yourself, how in the hell did I make it this far? The names of the persons in this video have been changed to protect the innocent and, of course, the guilty. Please be advised to watch this video at your own risk. Pursuing the hunt for gold may be catching, and as yet no cure has been found. Proceed with caution. This is a shot here of an old miner from the 1800s. He's got an old metal pan here, and you can see that time has taken its toll on this old boy, but he's still at it. He ain't gonna give up. Yeah, here's another old timer. This one's in color. Must have been a little later in life there. He's got his pick on the back here, over his shoulder. He's getting ready to go out and do some hard day's work, getting that yellow iron out of the ground. Well, we cut off his head a little bit, but he's down in a crouched position, panning for that gold. I couldn't do that at my age now. I'd either split my pants or I couldn't get back out of that sitting position. And this old boy's riding into town, probably Georgetown there, the looks of it. He's got his rifle hanging over his saddle. He's probably just bought his poke in there full of gold, and he's got his faithful mule there. And looks like this old boy's come back again for another run at it. Okay, we're getting into this is all on the Bazooka. This is produced by Gould Engineering. Did all the R&D in the building. This I think goes on the Bear River, and this was the early development. This was a 2.5 inch with a rear jet on it. They call a power jet today. Going to the next slide. A little closer view. See the water shooting out the rear. Also all the discard stuff. The fines stay in the separator. That's the white part in there, and that's the separator and the storage where the gold is stored. And this is a tube float in the forefront, and so the pump actually sits down in a little plastic. You can't see it very well, but it's below, right at the edge of the water line. That puts your center of gravity down lower so it doesn't tip over. You can see there's a leak somewhere in the hose there. The water spraying up there, and that's me in the background. Hard to see, but they're hard to work dredging. There's a closer shot of me. Left off the head. Didn't want to scare you. And you can see the water shooting out the back end. That's also, I think all these are at the Bear River. And you see he's getting with it. He's probably dredging there in about probably 4 or 5 inches of water. And had to be careful with this power jet design, because if you lifted it out of the water, it'd lose its prime. That's why I went to the suction nozzle eventually. And this is me again, standing behind my prototype that I built. Actually, I built it for the GPA show we had in Placerville many years ago. And it was a plastic model of the Bazooka design. I just wanted to study it, watch the dynamics of what was going inside, the spin inside, the scrubbing, a lot of things that I didn't understand at the time. So with this model, I could see all the things going on, which made me very happy when I saw the dynamics of the design. Just another shot of it. The hopper to the left, upper top, that's where you fed in the material. And then I recirculated the water. The water would go out to the right into a tub, and then there was a pump there, come back up over to the left. So it was just a demo. I ran it for 2 days at the GPA show. It's another shot. In this one, it's actually running, and you can see the water looks dirty because it's got sand. It's got real material that's being processed inside the thing. Well, this ugly looking thing was my prototype of a tri-jet. It's hard to see. The thing on top is the inlet where the water comes in, and the can is the reservoir. It floods that reservoir, and inside that can is 3 jets that are welded onto the tube. So it's difficult to build, and I just wanted, when I was doing my evaluation, I actually wrote 2 articles on it, one called New Life for the Suction Nozzle and the other called Ventura Jet Analysis. And this was one of the devices I wanted to compare the tri-jet to the other jets on the market, and including the Infinity Jet, which I thought I invented at the time. And this is my son skydiving. First time he'd ever done it, and he was just trying everything and just having a ball. I wish I had the guts to join him. Okay, this is me, and this is in Slate Creek, and this is the 2.5. This was the early development of the Bazooka with the rear jet Ventura, and that's about all I can say about that. This little critter is actually a wood cart that I bought at Harbor Freight. I modified it, took off the front thing and put aluminum plate on top, mounted the pump. That's a pacer pump with a reservoir on the front, so it's self-priming. And for old guys like me, so I could wheel the thing, I don't have to carry that pump. Worked pretty good. I moved on to another invention and tried out. I was always trying new things. This was another tri-jet, but it's a tri-jet suction nozzle, which I don't think there's any on the market. I only built 2. I built a 4 and a 5, but it's Chuck Ford that's holding this, and interesting fellow, worked at the hardware store, and I found out talking to him that he graduated from the Mackey School of Mines in Nevada. He was a mining engineer. So you never know who you're going to be talking to. This, of course, is the inside of the Superjet, as I called it, the Super Tri-Jet. And that's the 3 nozzles. And on the outside, there's actually a manifold that encompasses those 3 jets that floods them to make them operational. It worked quite well. The only problem was that the pump I had, I could just barely run the 4. I could never have enough water for the 5. They like lots of water. And this interesting shot is the dredge hose. And I'm merely showing that always seeking, trying to find a better dredge hose. You can see the the diameter of the little spirals, those are the things that hold the hose together on the stuff I was buying. Now these are probably less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter. Stuff I was buying, they were almost 3/8 of an inch in diameter, very stiff and hard to bend. And these coils are about 1 inch apart, and the stuff I was buying, they're probably almost on top of each other, and you could almost stand on the thing, they were so stiff. So this material was actually called sawdust and wood chip removal. So it wasn't intended for, in fact, dredge hose never was intended for dredging. It was used for other things. We just found it convenient to use. And there's the part number on there, 155GY. That's made by Kenaplex. That's the manufacturer. If you want to look into that, 155GY. This picture was part of my R&D testing. That device I'm testing is actually a commercial infinity jet. After I invented mine, come to find out that somebody had already invented it about 20 years prior to me, and it was called the couple jet by Gould. And I decided to test it against my own design and also get the performance. And while I had that test set up, I tested the power jet, the suction nozzle, the tri-jet, infinity jet. I hadn't built the tri-jet suction nozzle yet, and that's where I wrote 2 articles on that to show my testing results. More of the same. You can't see it very well, but there's kind of a metal thing sticking out the end. And to the very front there, you see a little gauge. That's a vacuum gauge. I was measuring both vacuum, and that thing on top, that little metal thing, you'll see a better view, is how I was measuring gallons per minute. That was very important in the analysis. Okay, this is the side view I'm talking about. There's a yardstick on top, and that little piece of metal to the left, I believe it's 4 inches long, and you retract it till it just touches the edge of the water. You go to the handbook table, look up the distance for that diameter, and it'll tell you exactly how many gallons per minute you're running. This is another view of it, and you can see I'm using an old cattle watering tank for my water supply. Just recirculated the water, because when you're moving 200 gallons a minute, you could empty that thing in less than a minute. So you got to recirculate the water, make it work. And another view, and this device right here is my infinity jet. A lot less expensive. The other one, the couple jet, was actually pretty expensive. I think the thing, that 4-inch, sold for about $400 or $500, and it was aluminum casting, and inside there was actually a steel casting. It was quite a piece of machinery. Mine was actually built with stuff right off the shelf. I used a lot of electrical parts, but I just didn't want to put a lot of money in it, and I wanted to test the concept. But well, this is another view, same thing, testing the infinity jet. Okay, now here's comparing. The top is the couple jet by Gould. The bottom one is, I call it the infinity jet by Gould Engineering. And like I say, I worked on that design for a couple years on paper till I finally built one. Had no idea that somebody had the same similar idea, but it was fairly inexpensive to build, and the results are probably the best yet that I tested, but it has its own drawbacks. You have to read the article. It's too much to go into at this point. Well, this kind of shows the test setup there. 72 Blazer. I bought new in 72. Been a very faithful guy, and you can see I'm recirculating the water there. I've got the water coming from the tank, dumping back into the tank. It just makes a big loop there. Like I say, 200 gallons a minute. You don't have long. If you don't recirculate, you're not going to get the test done. This is my son, my late son, and in the last years of his life he decided to go out and do a little skydiving, and this was swimming with the dolphins in Hawaii. And one of his former employees, a doctor he worked for, let him use his place free of charge. So that was a really nice Sierra Doctor's Care. Again, this is my son with my two grandchildren. This my son's Reggie Jr. And to the left is Kayla, and to the right is Caitlin. Well, we're going back to the Bazooka. This was some early stuff we did in the Yuba River. That's Steve Littner at the front with the nozzle, and I believe that's the 4-inch Bazooka. Early, because the nugget trap really hadn't been developed at that time. I didn't have the vortex generator on the nozzle, so this was some of our early. Steve helped me a lot when we were developing this device, and we spent many hours building and rebuilding and going down to the river and testing. And this is the picture of the Yuba, probably during the winter, because it looks a little, but the bank is way up. That river would rise close to 20 feet, almost touching the bridge. So it was good for the gold because it would deposit the gold at the higher levels, but you sure didn't want to get in this torrent of water. And the fish managed to survive. Isn't that something? The fish are actually able to, with that chocolate water all stirred up and boulders ripping through there, the salmon and all the rest of the fish, they're able to survive. Funny thing about that. There's another picture of Steve, and it looks like he's dredging there in between a couple of rocks there. Probably flipping up one with one hand and dragging it underneath, because a lot of the gold gets stalled underneath those rocks. And the interesting thing about this shot is the water in the background. It's trucking. It is really moving. We didn't go out into the fast water. You couldn't stand in the thing. You'd have to be tethered down by a line or something. Plus, it'd be just impractical to try to dredge in that kind of water. And this was, I believe, up on the Consumus. And I think this was what I called a handheld, some little experiment I was working on. The whole thing at the tiniest Bazooka I've ever built, but only built one. It was just a fooling around, trying different things. This is an interesting shot here of Steve Littner. You can't see it, but he's got a backpack on, and there's a 40-pound pump and motor on his back. Plus, he's got all the nozzles and the hoses, and he's quite a guy. We dropped over. He just came out. The river's about 100 feet. He just came climbing out of there. No shovel, no. I needed a rope to get my tail out of there. Again, this is my son Reggie Jr. and he's in Tahoe or someplace. And I think he's doing a little gambling there, blowing off a little steam, having a little fun. Okay, we're into a new part. This is the section I did on trash. I did an article called Trash Pump Analysis, and I was trying to explain to people why we call them trash pumps. It isn't because they're not any good, it's because they handle trash. The very inside, there's a steel impeller, and most of the pumps that we use an aluminum impeller, and the diameter is usually the same as on the housing. There's a space between the blades and the housing to allow trash to go into. Also, that's made of cast iron, so the blades are hardened steel and the housing is a cast iron, where our pumps are usually all aluminum. And I think this was a home light, and this is just kind of showing the engine to the left and the pump to the right. That tube coming out forward there is the output, and this to the right is the input where the water comes in. This is a picture of the cover housing, and this is where the water comes in, so that mounts on the front and goes into the center of the device. Just wanted to show basically how the pump builds up. Well, there's a picture of my son. Towards the end of his life there, he was decided to just go out and spend some money. He was in Hawaii with his two children, and he spent, I think, a week there just having a ball. I wish I could have joined him. Well, here's another bazooka. This is the end view of the nugget trap. It's just to show you how small a river we can work. This river is probably 2 to 3 feet across. I'm actually using a 5-inch Gould bazooka in this shot, but we dredge everything from deep rivers, wide rivers. It is a sub-dredge, but it will work on top of the ground. It likes to be underwater, but it works equally as well on top of the ground, which this photograph demonstrates. And kind of, or just a side view, nugget trap to the right. The nugget trap is probably 8 inches in diameter for a 5-inch input, so there's a lot of water going through it. Over 200 gallons a minute is actually processing through that. The bazooka itself, the white portion, is both the separator and the collector. Once it collects it, it goes into a compartment, and then you have to remove a plug on the belly to actually get the gold out. And just kind of a far shot, just showing what the terrain looked like, what we were working in, and it's fairly remote, and that's the way it is. You gotta work to get to places where people haven't overworked them if you want to get the gold. Just another shot showing the water flowing out, and sometimes we were running the thing dry. We'd have to wait till the water built back up. So what I try to do is put some stones or something behind it, kind of build up a little pool to work in. This fellow here is, I think he's got his arms out saying, "This is the one you should have seen, the one that got away." It was the giant nugget. And this is Joe Long. We've been dredging for a while, and we've had a lot of good times. It's hard to see Joe, but he's getting down with it, and he's working to the side where usually there's more gold there because the faster water during the winter will carry off that gold, and if it hits any rocks or weeds or anything to the left, the gold gets stalled, so you'll find it in the moss, but you'll find more on the edges of the water than you will in the very center. And I think what Joe's doing there, he's got a bar, and he's trying to loosen up some of the stuff because the ground is so compacted there. He's trying to open it up a little bit because all we were doing was just scraping over the top of the rocks. So he's trying to loosen it up where he can get underneath of them. This is Joe. He's still got the bar, and he's trying to work over to the side over there. There's some, you can't see them, but there's some large rocks there. And once you open those up, you find all kinds of, that's where the gold is nestled under there. So what you do is you lay the bazooka over next to it, nozzle, lift that up, and it's like a giant vacuum cleaner, sucks it right up. Well, bad shot of Joe there. I was trying to show his better side. And just showing a little farther away there, a lot of grass, and the ground was really mushy there when I almost lost my camera when I was walking it. It sunk clear up almost to the top of my boots when I was walking through that, because the whole thing is a riverbed, but the channel cut is off to the left. I guess way back when that thing was probably a big river before, in the early days. There's a picture of Jack St. Denis, quite a fellow. That's his gold that he found. Jack's quite a fellow. That's a picture of the Frico. It's 201 ounces of crystalline gold. That's probably about 2 feet wide by 18 or so inches high. The picture doesn't do it justice. It's giant. That was taken not too far from where I live, up in Greenwood, out of a local mine. And I think it was the Davies family that found it, and the Frico was the guy that bought it. It sat in the bank for, I don't know, 40 years or so, sitting in the corner. Nobody knew it was there, and after Frico had died, they were going through, and they found this nugget had a blanket or something over it there, and they'd been ignoring it all these years, and they talked him into giving it to the state. And this is my son, Reggie Jr., and he's holding an experimental device. That was my early rotator jet, which I call the vortex generator. That was a secondary jet that I added to it to put a spin on the water to use it as a centrifuge, and it increased my fine gold collection to where I was getting over 200 mesh, which is really tough to get. Development does pay off, and you get out what you put in. So I believe in doing all the testing you can and development work. And I think this was just an ad that I ran, and I'm not sure which. It was either the Mining Journal or GPA. I'm not sure which, but it was just an early ad that I ran. The 4-inch, 5-inch, and a 6. Since then, I've retired to 6. I don't build it any longer, but still build the 4 and the 5. And that, of course, concludes our presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.